time of recording this video, I'm 71 years old. But if I could go back to have someone give me the right advice to my younger self, these are the 5 things that I would want to hear. I'm going to share with you the 5 things I wish I'd been taught or told decades ago. Over the past 5 years, since starting YouTube, I have completely changed the way I paint because of finally learning these lessons the hard way. I'm going to talk about these 5 things and show you how I now practice them in my paintings each and every day. I would have liked someone to tell me when I was young that you don't need to be talented to be an artist. You just need to keep going. You don't need to have a gift or know the right people or somehow have a magic wand that you can wave, or to have a fantastic imagination. You don't need anything specific. All you need is the desire to paint. And then if you do it enough, if you paint enough, if you create enough, if you spend enough time doing the thing that you want to do, eventually it'll work out. And I wish that someone had told me that when I was 20, let's say. Of course, when I was 20, I was too busy doing other things to listen to anyone ever about anything. So it's a bit kind of pointless, really, because they could have told me until I was blue. In fact, perhaps they did. Perhaps they did tell me. I don't know. I mean, reality steps in here, and you know, I'm sitting here making a video talking about the things that mattered, or might have mattered, or might have helped. But of course, it's pretty much, yeah, you know what I mean. It's well, there we are. What I'm doing right now is I'm painting a series of leaves here on this piece of paper, which is starting to look a little bit like balloons, but we're not going to worry about that. Sometimes when you talk and paint, it's not the best combination. I don't know why. Why do you think that is? But I'm going to keep going anyway, and I'm going to drop in some dark paint at the bottoms of these leaves. And I'm going to put in some very dark green, I think if I can find it, into these ones here too. And actually what I'm feeling at the moment, because of the way these have gone so far with what I've been mumbling about here, things I would have liked to have known when I was younger, I'm going to grab some salt and we'll do that. Just put a little bit of texture on each one of these first leaves, and then I'm going to go on to the next lot. So, yeah, my first, what's the word? The first thing I would have liked to have been told, I would have liked my art teacher when I was 13 to sit me down and say, take me to one side, you know. Mrs. Ellis was the cookery teacher. What was her name? Can't remember. It'll come to me. Anyway, I would have liked. She's probably dead now. I would have liked her to take me to one side and say, Diane, I see you are really interested in painting, and I can tell that you love it because every time I go into the storeroom, you're in there sniffing the paints and looking at the paintbrushes and trying to steal one to take home with you. And so I know that you're really keen because you basically are a bit of a, villain, basically. But that's not the way to do it. The way to do it, you see, is you come to me and you talk to me and you say to me, Mrs. Can't remember your name. I really want to be a famous artist when I grow up, and I'm only 11, so I don't know any other way to say it. So what can I do? And I would have said to you, had I been the right kind of art teacher, I would have said, yeah, okay, here's a brush and here's some paper and here's some paint. Take it home and just keep painting until you until the next thing, and then bring it back and show me, and I'll see what we can do to help you out. But that didn't happen. I don't know what happened. I don't remember what happened, but it didn't happen. So that's one thing that I would like to have changed. Sounds like I'm moaning, doesn't it? I'm not moaning, I don't think. I'm just, meandering through the world of the past. Yes. So I need to basically get something on this piece of paper. Look at that colour. And then once I've done that, I'll be able to go to the next thing. And I don't know what the next thing is going to be, but I'm basically enjoying leaf shapes. Because I think if someone said to me, what's your favourite shape? I would probably say leaf. Right, I'm going to put a little bit more salt on here, and then we will have to let it dry a little bit, but we'll get lots of dots and dashes. You can see them coming up here already. Okay, so that's the first layer, and I've brushed off the salt, and now I'm going to come in with a second layer, and I'm going to take some pale pink and a little bit of sort of vanilla colour, pale pink and vanilla, and have that fairly light and washy. And then I'm going to paint just shapes behind my leaves, like this, because this is easy and quite fun. They can be any shape you like, ovals, squares, triangles, you name it, doesn't matter. Just filling in the gaps, not coming up right to the leaves, just filling in the gaps and sort of spreading it around. Just take that off there, that bit of green from there, that's it. And I'll talk about the second thing that I would have liked to have known when I was either maybe a teenager or in my 20s. And one thing that always comes to my mind is this issue of selling your work. And I had the idea, and I'm not entirely sure that I still don't, that a real artist sells their work. And for a very, very long time, nobody told me ever, actually, that my work was good enough to sell. And so I kind of always assumed that it wasn't, which meant that I wasn't any good as a painter. I was all right for, doing my own sketches when I went on holiday and stuff like that. But as far as anyone else ever wanting to buy my work, that was a complete no-go zone. It wasn't going to happen. Nobody at all ever on my entire whole life had ever said, I would like to have one of your paintings. Can you imagine how soul-destroying that can be? I'm sure some of you feel like that too. Nobody wanted my work. Maybe I didn't offer it to them. Perhaps, that's not true. That isn't true. I remember once I dared to give my father-in-law a painting which he had, for whatever. Yeah, no, that's not true when I say nobody liked my work. He did say, and for his sins, he was then given it. He said once, oh, I like that picture of that church. So I presented it to him for his birthday. He probably hated it. I think they framed it and put it in the hall for a while, but then it kind of disappeared. You know how these things do. Because really, what can you do? Anyway, perhaps I fell out of favour with him, so he took it away. But then, that went on for a long, long time, and I gave up painting, and I started again, and I gave it up, and I didn't feel appreciated, and I don't know what I expected, really. But then life went on a kind of bit of a bender, and I ended up in Canmore, near Calgary in Canada. And I joined a class there with Donna Jo Massey, and she organised an exhibition, and we all put our paintings in the exhibition. And lo and behold, somebody bought one of my works. You could have knocked me over with a feather, as we say in England. You could have knocked me over with, and that was such a boost to my ego. And so I realized then that quite possibly quite a lot of the paintings that I'd done over the years might have been sellable if I had tried to sell them. That's a thing, isn't it? You can't sell a painting unless you put it in a for sale place. So anyway, so that helped. That did help, and I started to have a bit more confidence with what I was doing, and I began to sell my work on actually eBay, because that was working at that time. eBay, it was a thing that you could sell the odd thing there. So don't be downhearted. It's not just because you haven't sold anything doesn't mean to say your paintings aren't good enough to sell. So now I've got the background in, and all I've done really is just paint a kind of mosaic, loose mosaic of pink behind my leaves. So the next thing to do probably is to make sure that that's dry before we come in with the next phase, whatever that's going to be. So that's dry, and I'm going to now go over my leaves, and with this is a black brush pen, just a no-name thing from Amazon, and I'm just going to do whatever comes to mind here at this point. I'll just push my paints out of the way. And just some of these, we're going to sharpen them up a little bit, and others we'll just paint on the inside. Some of them we'll paint on the outside of the lines, whatever. So maybe we might do some like that. That was my stomach rumbling, if you heard that. It's nearly lunchtime. So the next thing I wanted to say was something that I wish that I'd found out earlier, but which I didn't really, I kind of knew it, but I didn't really know exactly what it meant, which is a very simple thing, actually. The thing about brushes, because I've always had a fairly big collection of watercolor brushes, but I don't know, they never seemed to be quite doing what I wanted them to do. And so I struggled with these brushes. I had ones by, I don't know, De La Rowney. I had ones by Winsor & Newton. I had ones by Rosemary's Brushes. I had ones by ABS. I had ones by Princeton. I had all sorts. And we're talking about a while back here, And in those days, the nylon brushes were nowhere near as good as they are now. So you have to bear with me on this one, because this was basically a problem which could only be solved eventually with time and technology. I bought some sable brushes, and I couldn't see what all the hype was about. They were phenomenally expensive, and I couldn't see that it made any difference. I never could get a point. I couldn't get the point. I didn't know what the point was. And then one year, after I'd lived in Bermuda for a while, I came back to England, and I was living in Kent, and a chap contacted me from New Zealand. His name was Hugh Brading. I think he's still alive. I'm not sure. He must be very elderly now. And he contacted me because he wanted to come to England to visit somebody or other, and he thought he would combine his trip with a teaching trip. So I at the time was running a group in a place called Rough Common near Canterbury, which was an SAA group. I don't know if anyone who watches me belongs to or knows about the SAA. It's an art club in England that has grown an awful lot since those days. And the way it used to work was people like me who thought we could perhaps teach, we used to start groups, and they used to meet once a week, and we used to get together and have a cup of tea and all that kind of stuff in the village hall, and it was all very good fun. So we were doing that. Anyway, so he contacted me through the SAA. And I said, oh, yeah, that would be great. I like your paintings. He's very good at florals and things. And he said, okay, let's do it then. And so he turned up. He stayed in my house, and which was a bit small, but we managed. And he did this lesson on how to paint flowers. But the point of all of this was that he introduced us all to the Drawwell brushes. Now, you know that in my description below in the video, I have a link to a chap in Japan who makes handmade nylon brushes, and his name's Mr. Miami. And he was a person that, I mean, New Zealand is relatively close to Japan, isn't it? So compared to England. So Hugh used to get all his brushes from Mr. Miami, and he had them with him, and he sold us brushes for the course. And I was absolutely, completely knocked sideways by these brushes. They literally changed my art overnight. I'm not kidding. They really did, because they were the first brushes I'd ever come across that actually knew how to hold a point and were flexible and basically expressive. And I was able to use these brushes in a way I had never, ever used a brush before. So I have since then, this was in 2001, 24 years ago. And so since then, it feels longer actually, I have been using those brushes. So if you feel like you would like to try them out, do please check out the description in this below this video, or any of our videos. They're there, and you will be able to obtain some from Mr. Miami. They look like this, or like the black ones are like this. This is a smaller one. And they really are very, very good, and they're very inexpensive. The worst thing is the cost of shipping, which obviously adds up. But anyway, it's an option for you. Now, so I've outlined all my leaves. I've still got my pink sections in the background here. And the next thing I'm going to do is to put some embellishments in either black or white or gold, or where's the other white? This white here. So that's the next step. So I think this is number 4 now. And while I'm doing number 4, I'm going to be painting some berries into my piece of work here. And you can leave little white bits on your berries if you want to for the light, or else you can come in with some white marker pen or something like that, because the white acrylic pens, these ones, Artex do a good one, acrylic markers, they're pretty much opaque, and they are really very good at covering up any mistakes. So mistakes are no longer necessary, actually. This is another thing. This is 3.3.5. Mistakes are no longer required. We don't make mistakes. Everything that we do is just the thing we do. Okay, so let's just put that one behind us, shall we? Because I think I've figured that out now. Mistakes are just learning processes, really, aren't they? And so that's that. What was I going to say? Oh, God. What was I going to say? Here we go. Here goes my memory. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put in some berries. They're nice and black. These are purple. Let's say cobalt violet and black mixed together. Oh, that was it, the black thing. Don't take any notice of anyone else's ideas of what rules are. There we are, that's what it is. So you don't have to listen to me. I'm a great rule breaker. I'm terrible, I really am. I don't like rules. I am a rebel. As you may have guessed, I always have been. I have no time for other people's ideas of what's the right and wrong thing to do. I have a high moral code, but I don't believe in rules, at least not unless they're needed, as they often are. But then I believe that I can break the rules when necessary. That's what I'm trying to say. And with art, I'm talking about, I don't believe in rules in art. You do what you feel is right. You just do whatever you want to do. You don't have to abide by any rules. Who says there are rules in art? I like to think of the cave people, the ones in places like Lascaux in France, who went into the caves and they rubbed their hand into the dirt and then probably spat on their hand and made an imprint on the wall of the cave, something like, I don't know, 5 million years ago or whatever, how long ago it was. And that was art. I think that was art. Were they obeying any rules? I really don't think so. They were just doing what comes naturally. And that was the other thing I wanted to talk about actually as well, that I wish someone had pointed that out to me, that, you know, going back to that thing near the beginning where I was talking about, was I talking about that or did I leave that bit out? I don't remember. Anyway, I'm going to talk about it now briefly, which is that anybody can paint, right? Anybody can. Some people are definitely going to be quicker at learning it than others, and some people will always be better. You know, they always say that Picasso, for example, had mastered everything that most grown-ups needed to know about art by the time he was about 3. And so he was a genius like Mozart. But just because there are geniuses like Picasso and Mozart, that doesn't mean to say that other people who aren't quite that adept don't have the right to paint or to write music or whatever. We all can do it to a certain extent, can't we? I'm quite good at putting berries into my paintings, so that's something that I will do until the cows come home. But what I won't do is certain other techniques that some people are good at and I'm not, because I don't enjoy doing things that I'm not any good at. Fair enough? I think that's fair enough, Ski, don't you? So don't follow the rules. Do whatever floats your boat, lights your torch, does whatever. That's what you do. Yes, okay, so that's our berries in place. I've managed to remember to leave the little lights in them so I don't have to add them with the white paint afterwards. So now I need to dry that and then I'll come back and start working on the background. Okay, so that's dry now. I'm going to take my my gold. This is a Signo, I think, hybrid gel metallic, it's called. And it's quite nice and shiny. And I'm going to put in some embellishments here. And I said I was going to work on the background, but I'm not quite sure that I am yet. I might not, but I might just put some gold on some of my leaves. It's sometimes a little bit difficult to know where to start with embellishments when you're doing a kind of embroidered painting. You don't want to lose all of your beautiful texture. You see all of this where I had the salt? That's really nice. And what you want to try to do, if you possibly can, is to highlight that really, not to lose it. So maybe your gold should be on some of the ones that are a little bit more plain, right? Perhaps. But it's entirely up to you, as we say these days in 2025. There are no rules and you can do what the heck you like. So let's put some circles on this one and some dots on that side. And maybe we'll put some smaller dots up here. I feel the urge for a few spirals, but I'm not quite sure where I'm going to put those. Maybe, I did think about that. I was going to put some spirals in the backgrounds. Okay, so let's do that, shall we? And then maybe we'll just put some little circles around and about. in the bigger ones, maybe. Don't need spirals in all of them, but you do need a reasonable smattering. And put one up here. Okay, so we have a few gold bits and pieces on here. Let's put some on this edge for some reason. Now, we have some white here. Maybe we can use some of that. This pen is actually not bad. It's working quite well on cold press paper, which is not always the case. If you draw reasonably slowly, you'll get a slightly better effect than if you kind of scribble, scrabble all over the place. Because the ink needs to flow. I think that's basically the thing. I think this is thing number 5, and there are other things too. You know, there are 5 things that I would have liked to have known when I was younger, and I've mentioned 4 of them, and I'm going to say now number 5 is I would have liked to have had the mystique taken away from the idea of style. There is a tendency, or has been a tendency, to think that you have to find your style. And maybe, I don't know, maybe if you go to art school, that's something that used to be emphasized. I don't know. I never went to art school, never went to any kind of art class whatsoever. But to find your own style, surely for most people that just develops over a period of time, and you can't make it happen. And the minute that you, I don't know, what are you doing when you're trying to develop your style? Your style will come when you paint a lot, if you keep on painting. And this is something that I have definitely noticed recently. Like I think I was going to say, and I don't think I did, I've painted more in the last 5 years due to YouTube than I've painted ever before in my total life. And I have noticed that as a result, strangely enough, my work has changed. I'm not going to say whether it's improved or got worse. It's just changed. And I think that's what happens. And you do find eventually some kind of a style emerging from the pit below, and you start to recognize your own work. And then one day what happens is this is what happens one day. You know how we all copy other people's work while we're learning. But one day it'll happen to you, and you might be 70 or even 80 or 20 or 30, depending on how good teacher you've had. One day you will suddenly realize that you don't want to copy anybody else anymore. And from then onwards, you are in a different place because you now start to create your own work, completely your own work. What you're doing is you are putting together the synthesis of all of the things that you have learnt over the previous X number of years. And you pick up a brush and you pick up a piece of paper and you sit down with your paints and you let it flow. And that's when your style will emerge, because what comes out of the end of your brush or your pen or your pencil or your whatever it is that you're drawing with, that will be you. And the minute you look up and look at a photograph of someone else's work, or you look at anything, even one of the many, many good, some of them are good, some of them are not so good, videos on art on YouTube, when you start looking and you've got one eye on the screen and one eye on your paper, that's not you anymore. So my advice would be to you, what I would have wanted to have told myself when I was 20, if we had have had YouTube then, which we didn't, obviously, and we didn't even really have good books. Most of the books didn't have enough pictures in them, and they were too expensive, and so on and so forth. But if I could turn the clock back, or if I could become 20 now, then what I would want to hear would be, watch YouTube videos, watch them 10 times and then turn off the YouTube and paint. Don't try to copy the YouTube tutor. You can trace their doodah and then paint it, but don't have it running in front of you, because you know what? You can't look one eye on the screen and one eye on your paper. You can, of course. There's no reason why you shouldn't do that. But if you actually want to develop your style, then you've got to break away. And I think that what will happen is that one day you'll notice that that's what you want to do. I know that's what happened to me. So I'm going to leave that now, because if I don't stop now, I'm going to die of starvation. And I think that's enough. What I want to say is I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope that you find some of these gems of wisdom a little bit slightly interesting. If you're just starting out, or if you're picking up again after a while of not having painted, or if you just want to take a new direction in your art, maybe some of these thoughts will mean something to you and help you to take a new direction and, enjoy your painting more, because it's all about enjoying your painting, and you do certainly not have to struggle. It shouldn't be a drag. It shouldn't be something that you don't look forward to. It should always be fun. So please, if you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe, turn on notifications, and please leave me your comments in the comments below. I would love to know what you think about what I've been saying and how you feel about the 5 things. Perhaps you'd like to tell me 5 things that you wish you'd known 20, 30 or 40 or 50 years ago. I will be looking forward to it. So I'll let you go now, and I will see you again soon. Bye for now, everybody. Bye-bye. It's not finished, by the way. It isn't finished. So when I come to the end of the video, hopefully we will have had time to finish it, and you'll see one more step. Okay, bye for now.